Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Tanya Wynn. I'm a library assistant specializing in repository support. So we're going to dive into what data management plans are, and they also go by the acronym DMP. So today we'll explore how data management plans can make managing your data more efficient and compliant with funder requirements. And this session is designed to give you practical insights and tools you can apply right away. So first, what exactly is a data management plan? So in its essence, it's a strategic plan for managing data throughout its life cycle. So more on that in the next few slides. The data management templates are designed to guide you through some key questions, and this ensures no critical aspect of data management is overlooked. And next, there will be a hands-on activity called the Eco Youth case study. And so we'll have maybe 20 minutes to work on that, to draft DMP for this case study, this mock case study. And lastly, I will, if there is time, I can walk you through the DMP Assistant tool. And this tool simplifies the process by providing templates that align with funder requirements. Okay, so a DMP, or data management plan, is a living document that guides how your data is managed throughout its journey. So the first key point is the DMP is like a blueprint. So it meticulously outlines the processes for collecting, documenting, formatting, protecting, and preserving your data. This ensures that every step is thoughtfully planned and your data remains secure and useful. The second point is about tools. So using standardized tools like DMP Assistant is beneficial. These tools not only help streamline your process, but also ensures that you're meeting the necessary requirements set out by funders. It's the bridge between your data management needs and expectations of your stakeholders. Remember, a well-crafted DMP is essential for any research project. So we'll look at some specific questions that a data management plan might address. Now, before that, I should talk about the research data lifecycle. Last week, we talked about this in much more depth, but we'll briefly touch upon it in this presentation. So the research data lifecycle is crucial for effective data management. The lifecycle outlines the stages of that your data goes through during a project. So we have first the plan stage, and this is where the research proposals and funding applications are crafted. So it's vital to outline how you'll manage your data at this point. Next, we have the create and collect phase. So here the focus is on your data and where it will be stored. So thinking about secure and accessible locations. And then moving forward, we have process and analysis. So these stages are where the raw data gets refined and interpreted. And once your data is ready, it's time to disseminate and share its findings with the wider community, if applicable to your project. And finally, the preserve and reuse stages ensure that your data is stored for the long term and can be accessed for future research from other researchers. So consider how and where so at that point, you're considering where you're going to deposit your data for reuse. So you'll notice when we look at one of the DMP templates, they will try to guide you in answering these RDM phases in the life cycle. Okay, so going towards and looking at 5 of the main DMP template questions. So the Digital Research of Alliance of Canada has developed a number of DMP templates, and one of which we will use in the presentation is called the Alliance Simplified Template for Funding Application. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go through the 5 overarching questions from this simplified template, DMP. Okay, so some crucial aspects of data management will include the ethics, legal, and commercial issues. So the question here in this section is, what considerations will you take into account regarding ethical, legal, or commercial issues? So firstly, safeguarding information is paramount. You must detail how sensitive data will be protected throughout your project's life cycle. It's not just about compliance, but it's about maintaining trust and integrity. And second, if your research involves Indigenous communities or their knowledges, it's essential to respect Indigenous sovereignty. Acknowledge their rights and involve them in decisions about how their information is used. And you can also bring them on board as you're developing your data management plan and have them contribute to that. Lastly, remember that sharing data from human participants requires informed consent and ethics board approval. Also, ensure you're aware of any specific compliance requirements set by funders or existing agreements. So together with these considerations, they are integral to responsible data management and can impact the success and credibility of your research. So the next section that we see in data management plans, specifically the simplified one from the Alliance, is data collection and acquisition. So you want to consider what types of data you'll be working with. And these could range from textual data, such as transcripts, to numerical data, like survey results, or even audio-visual content. So be clear in listing specific examples, such as questionnaires or lab notebooks. This helps in understanding the scope of your project. And next, distinguish between generating new data and acquiring existing data sets. If you're sourcing existing data, remember to include URLs or DOIs for accessibility. This transparency is crucial for both your records and for others who may reference your work later on. In addition, address the sensitivity of your data, such as if you're dealing with sensitive information like health records, and also identify whether you're using proprietary or open file formats. Also provide an estimate of the data size. This foresight is key for adequate storage planning and ensures smooth project execution. So defining these aspects altogether set a strong foundation for your data management in your project. So the next section that we see in data management plans is documentation for reuse and validation. So we're focusing on the essential function of documentation for reuse and validation, and it's important to consider how we can guarantee that our data is both effectively reusable and verifiable by others. So the question here is, how will you document data for future reuse or validation? So the key points to consider is one of them is documentation tools. So these can include data dictionaries, code books, or README files, which enable others to understand your data. It's not just about accessing data, having data. It's about ensuring it can be interpreted accurately by others and yourself. Next up is metadata standards. So implementing metadata standards is crucial to ensure that data is machine readable and easily discoverable. So this is a key step for anyone aiming to build upon the research of your research in the future. Next up, we have process capture. So whether generated by tools or recorded by users, capturing the research process is vital for clarity and accountability. So clearly specifying who is responsible for documentation helps maintain integrity and reproducibility of your work. And lastly, reproducibility is to ensure your documentation is up to date and it allows other researchers to be able to understand and interpret your data so they can reuse it or validate your data. Okay, so the fourth section for a DMP that we see is data storage and working environment. So the question here is, how will data be stored, accessed, and worked with? The first one is being able to define where our data will reside during different phases of the project. And you can define these by using the terms raw, master, and analytical or processed data, and you can append that into your file format name. And by identifying your storage locations in your data management plan, we set a foundation for secure and efficient data handling. The next point is access control. So we need to know who requires access. So whether it's investigators, staff, or partners, and then also ensure that they can enter the environment securely. So thinking about the importance of maintaining data integrity and confidentiality as you plan this. And next up is considering personal devices. So if the data resides on personal computers or mobile devices, documenting protection measures is crucial. So this step is all about safeguarding sensitive information from potential breaches. And lastly, we can touch briefly on backup strategy. So a robust routine is essential to prevent data loss. So whether you're going to use external drives or a cloud solution, having a reliable backup process ensures that your hard work is preserved no matter what happens. So with these strategies in mind, we're taking proactive steps to manage our data effectively during the project. Okay, so finally, we'll talk about long-term management and access as you write this in your data management plan. And this is a crucial section because you want to ensure that your hard work continues to bear fruit well into the future. So first, consider data deposit. So you may choose a digital research data repository such as Borealis or FURDER, the Federated Research Data Repository, that facilitates open discovery of your research data. So this ensures your data is available and accessible to others who might benefit from it. And next is to think about persistent identifiers. So you want to choose a repository that assigns DOIs because that DOI will enable others to access your data, even if the repository changes, that stable link will still exist. And so that will support data discovery and proper citation if anyone wishes to reference your work. And let's talk about retention and destruction. So decide if any data will need to be destroyed after your project. Clearly outline the conditions under which this will happen to comply with the ethical standards. And lastly, what is the role of data curation? So working with a data curator from a data repository can enhance the long-term value of your data by ensuring your data is appropriately formatted, preserved, has descriptable, very high standard and descriptable metadata. And at AU Library, we manage the AU data repository, and we also provide a curation service. So when you submit your data for deposit, we will review your data and documentation before publishing it. So engaging with all these elements now will set a strong foundation for the enduring impact of your research. Okay, so we will just taking a look at the time. So yes, we have good enough time. So this is the activity. This is a mock case study, and we will use this case study to write a DMP using one of the Digital Research Alliance of Canada's DMP template. Okay, so this study focuses on understanding climate change anxiety among teenagers aged 13 to 17 in rural Alberta. There are 3 key types of data involved in this research. So we have survey responses, about 500 unique responses, and then 20 video formats recorded in MP3, and then an in vivo analysis project that has PDF and text nodes. So consider how each data type might inform our understanding of the project. So surveys offer quantitative insights, while interviews provide the rich qualitative perspectives, and the in vivo project helps us analyze these data in depth. So as we move into this activity, let's keep these in mind and as we draft the data management plan. Okay, so I will put a link to the Google document in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to just go over like some potential responses you could have written for this case study. The first section on ethics. So what things to consider when you're ethical and commercial and legal issues you should consider. So firstly, protecting sensitive data from minors is critical. So you should obtain informed consent from parents and assent from teenagers. This ensures everyone involved understands and agrees with the data collection process. It's important. So consider the importance of de-identifying the data. So once we transcribe and collect the data from the videos, for example, they should be de-identified immediately. So this means removing any personal identifiers to protect the participants' privacy. And then lastly, let's talk about secure storage. So a master key that links the names to the IDs should be kept separately, say on a secure AU server. So this separation ensures that even if the data is accessed, identities remain protected. So then the second section was about data and collection. So because you're collecting or gathering 500 survey responses in I'm going to say one CSV file and 20 MP4 video interviews, the estimated size, including both the raw and the analytical files and possibly the backup files, would be about 15 gigabytes. So it's important to highlight that prioritizing non-proprietary formats such as CSV and plain text is important. So this choice using CSV and plain text and other non-proprietary formats ensures the longevity of your data, making it accessible and usable in the future. So keep in mind that the significance of planning for data acquisition. So documentation for reuse and validation. So describing how the data will be interpreted using documentation. So one example is using a readme.txt file. So this is your roadmap detailing the folder structure and guiding future users through the data set. So important that anyone who looks at this in the future can quickly understand where everything is and what each component means. And next, having a data dictionary is like a glossary where every survey variable is defined clearly. This will eliminate any ambiguity and make sure that data is correctly interpreted by anyone who tries to access it later on. And when it comes to transcripts, standardized meta tags provide essential context. And for example, this could include information like the project ID, participant ID, date, interviewer, and format. And you can put these types of metadata tags, we'll call it, at the top of your Word document of the, say, the transcript of the interview. Or you can use the document properties feature in Word. So if you right-click the Word document, go to File, Info, Properties, you can actually enter these tags, but they're kind of hidden, right? You won't see them on, like, say, the first page of your Word document. You have to go in that direction to find them. And if you use NVivo, you can assign attributes to your files, which adds another layer of metadata. So the goal here is to provide clarity and precision. So you're not only safeguarding and the integrity of your data, but also contributing to the culture of transparency and accessibility in research. The next section, number 4, was data storage and working environment. So how you're accessing your data, your active data. So a working copy of your data should be kept on your laptop for easy access and ongoing work, but remember that this is just one layer of your storage strategy. You should consider backup protocols. So regularly back up your data to an external hard drive. This provides an additional layer of security in case your primary device encounters any issues. And then finally, for an added layer of protection, use an offsite backup. So this could be a cloud solution. And this not only safeguards your data against physical damage to your equipment, but it ensures that you can access your data from different locations. Okay, so by using these strategies, you're setting up a strong foundation for data security and accessibility. And then lastly, we're looking at how your data is managed and discoverable and accessible in the long term. So this is different from the previous slide, which is like the active storage of your data that you're using. So, for example, you may decide the aggregated survey results and the qualitative themes can be accessible through platforms like Borealis and Further. Those are the data repositories I mentioned earlier. You may want to also consider internal retention. So we talked about this a little bit, but the de-identified individual transcripts and raw survey data should be held for 5 years before destruction. So that number, again, actually came from the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, but AU decided to go with that number. And then this practice helps balance accessibility with privacy and confidentiality concerns. So one final note is the final disposition. So the raw video files, so those MP4 files, will be destroyed after transcription, while the other de-identified files will be securely deleted after the retention period of 5 years. So this ensures we're managing data responsibly over the long term. Okay, so thank you for your attention. There is a few more minutes, but I think you have the slides. So if you have any questions, you can contact us through the email, or you can use that QR link to book a one-on-one consultation. We can talk a little bit more about your research topic. And if you're coming from Memorial University, please reach out to Alison Farrell, who's the Research Data Management Librarian. Also, Love Data Week was last week, but they still have events going on. There's one more presentation I'll be doing next week, February 25th. It's about using the AU data repository. So once your active storage you have, once you finish your project and you have your active storage collected, you can choose to deposit in the AU data repository if it is appropriate. It might not be appropriate. And there's more Love Data Week events going on through the ICPSR. So I did say I was going to do a quick demo of the DMP Assistant. So again, this is a national tool provided by the Digital Research Alliance of Canada. So you don't have to create an account. You can still access these DMP templates freely without an account. So you can download the PDF or the Word file and use the questions and the guidance to help you craft your data management plan. And normally, I shouldn't say, but usually these questions kind of align with the ethics application. So whether you start drafting the ethics application first or this one first, like there should be overlap between the two. So you're not like redoing the work twice. They should carry over each other. But one benefit I'll show you with having an account on DMP Assistant is I'm logged in right now, but if I create a plan, should take a step back. So if I create an account with my Athabasca email, you'll get shifted into the Athabasca Library's instance on the DMP Assistant. So you'll get access to like these links that go to the library, the guide, our email. But more specifically, I'm just going to open a test one I made. So when we were looking at the Google document, these were all the guidance questions and everything. And there's a text box for you to type and save your notes. And if you're collaborating with other folks, they can also type and save their comments. One more thing you can do is you can like share and invite other collaborators, but they need an account if they're going to collaborate within DMP Assistant. And then the other tool that makes it kind of worthwhile to create an account is this request feedback tool. So when you click on that, you can send us feedback, but in the meantime, you can still edit your plan until you get feedback from us. So it takes us about 3 days. Yeah, and then there's different ways to like download your plan. Like for example, you might want to download it as a Word document. Okay. Word document, and it has all the question plans on here, but you can feel free to like edit and like delete some of these guidance questions because they do take a lot of white space, and that would make your plan not as long if you do that. Okay, I think that is all the time I have right now, so I'm going to stop sharing.